We're on the air, so we'll start the meeting. A few things to cover as we go here. First of all, I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. We are very fortunate to have a lot of user groups and stakeholders that attend these meetings, both here and by Zoom. And we're interested in each and every one of the different stakeholders, whether you be hikers, bikers, birders, hunters, anglers, airboaters, kayakers, paddlers, campers, and on and on. And the district has something over 600,000 acres of public land open to the public, and all the adjacent water bodies that we enjoy, including like Lake Okeechobee and the Kissimmee Chain, and all the WCAs and the SDAs. So this meeting gives a chance for every stakeholder to have say and participate in what happens on all those properties. And when you come and you participate, it's very much appreciated because it helps the district understand what they have out there and the opportunities they have out there. So with that, we are fortunate to have the executive director of the district with us, Drew, and Drew Bartlett will say a few words. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Newton. Thank you, everybody, for showing up and coming out to the district to give us feedback, engage with us, to help us make decisions, because we want to make the right decision, and your feedback's very critical to that. Whether you're here in person or online, I know it's a big district, so we're glad we're able to set it up so everyone can participate. We do get a lot of feedback, and we are able to act on a lot of the feedback at these forums, so they are very important to us and to the leadership team, and I learn something every time I come. So it's very valuable to me as a person, not only to the district, but also to me and the board as well. So thank you, Newton, for continuing to facilitate these discussions, and I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Drew. The housekeeping that we need to do, we are on the air, we're on Zoom. The meetings are all videoed. You can go back and watch whatever part or all that you might like to watch. We will have a go around the room and introduce yourself with a short comments on anything you might be going on in your club or your whatever you might have going on that's short. When you have a longer opportunity towards the end of the meeting where you can make discussion on the longer topics. But to begin, you might want to just make a comment on something that's happened or an event that's coming or something. Sure to hit the button on the microphone and hold it down. If the green light's not showing, we can't hear you and you're not being recorded, and that's not good. For you folks out there on Zoom, if you want to comment, use the raise a hand feature on Zoom. If you're using a phone and would like to comment, please press *9 to raise hand, *6 to mute and unmute. If you have any trouble, just go to the website and click the Ask Us button, and someone will help you. We have run these meetings for 15 years at least. I think twice we went past 8 p.m. So we will be out of here by 8 o'clock. It is important to have the meetings in the evening like this. You get to come, people work, but it's also a real chore for the district to keep all the personnel and the parking and the gates and everything open late in the night after regular hours. So we'll start with introductions around the table. So we'll start to the left, and Drew's already commented, and Jennifer.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Reynolds. I'm the Director of Ecosystem Restoration here at the district.
Good evening, I'm Rich Virgil. I'm the Division Director for Field Operations, which also includes the Land Management Bureau.
Good evening, Rory Feeney, Land Resources Bureau Chief.
Hello, my name is Cheyenne Walker. I'm the Public Hunting Areas Biologist with FWC.
I'm Steve Kernoyer with Florida Paddling Trails Association.
Good evening. I'm Dorsey DeMaster with the Florida Paddling Trails Association.
Dennis Guess, Everglades Isle, Everglades City, Florida.
Gary Bridges, KRVSA.
Bishop Wright, Florida Airboat Association.
Thomas McGoldrick, Florida Sportsman's Conservation Association.
Kyle Archecki, Broward Airboat Club.
Matt Nelson, Florida Sportsman Conservation Association.
Joe Rabina, Florida Sportsman's Conservation Association.
Dan Schuba, Florida Sportsman's Conservation Association.
Mark Rivard, Florida Sportsman's Conservation Association.
King, Florida Sportsman Conservation Association.
Brad Wyrock, Florida Airboat Association.
Bo Moyer, FSCA.
Hi, Mark Dombrowski, Florida Sportsman, and I do have just one thing. Florida Sportsman in June of this year is 30 years old, so happy birthday to all the people sitting in here, but certainly, for all the work we've done.
Gary Garceau, Youth Hunting Program of Florida.
Josh Wilsey, Florida Fish and Wildlife.
Bill Helfrich, South Florida Water Management District, retired.
Fred Davis, Bill's old boss, Florida Trail Association.
Mark Barton, I'm with the Backcountry Hunters and Anglers.
Ricky Smith, Everglades Airboat Resorts.
Wayne Daniels, Junglers Airboat Tours.
Blake Harrison, Everglades City Airboat Tours.
Lenz, Everglades City Airboat Tours.
I'm Greg Nolte, project manager here at the district for SEP North program.
Mike Cheek, Public Use Recreation Project Manager.
Good evening. I'm Justin Nolte, section administrator for the district's land stewardship section.
James Harbaugh, project, recreation project manager with the district.
Dan Cotter, section leader over the Public Use Unit in the Land Resources Bureau.
Wildad Solomon, Deputy District Clerk.
All right, thank you. We will, I noticed that Channel came in. Welcome. The first presentation, and you people on Zoom, you will have your opportunity to do public comments and raise your hand as the presentations go along. The first presentation is the Florida Paddling Trails Association. Dorsey DeMaster, the region co-director, and Steve Cornier, the region co-director, will make a presentation, and there's going to be a little award afterwards. Thank you very much.
Excuse me. Hey, thank you. Again, I'm Dorsey DeMaster with Florida Paddling Trails Association, and thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. What began as a simple inquiry about GPS coordinates for campsites on the Kissimmee River flourished into the establishments of one of the most remarkable paddling trails in Florida. Thanks to the South Florida Water Management District's exceptional Recreational Users Forum and the leadership of Michael Cheek, Recreation Project Manager, a team worked together for more than a year to reduce large gaps between campsites and improve safety on the Kissimmee River. Michael Cheek was pivotal, say that one more time. Michael Cheek was pivotal during the entire design, organizing teams consisting of the South Florida Water Management District, FPTA volunteers, and the Regional Airboats Association. This entire effort accumulated into the establishment of the first officially documented Kissimmee River paddling trail, 78.5 miles in length from Lake Kissimmee to Lake Okeechobee. This embracing 44 miles of the successful successfully restored Kissimmee River. The Kissimmee River Paddling Trail will not only connect paddlers and others to outstanding Florida waterways, but also creates the opportunity for increased environmental awareness, education opportunities about the successful Kissimmee River Restoration Project. I especially want to point out the picture in the upper left-hand corner. That's one of my favorite. That's actually kayakers and airboaters together, working together, which that is a milestone in my heart. It should be. So can we go ahead and do the video? I'd just like to introduce a video that was taken as the result of the inaugural paddle we did in January. Thank you.
I'm exploring wild Florida, so when the Florida Paddling Trails Association invited Live Wildly to join their expedition to establish a paddling trail from Lake Kissimmee to Lake Okeechobee, I packed my bags and headed for the water.
We've been planning this trip for about 6 months, and of course it always comes right down to the wire. We're looking at the weather, the wind and everything, and Mother Nature cooperated with us.
The Kissimmee River hasn't always been a paddling destination. After severe flooding in 1947, U.S. Congress authorized the Army Corps of Engineers to channelize the Kissimmee River, carving straight lines between Lake Kissimmee and Lake Okeechobee, 30 feet deep and 300 feet wide. Not exactly the most appealing river in the world to paddle. The canals worked, but it also eliminated hundreds of acres of habitat for waterfowl and wading birds, and led to severe water quality issues downstream and into the Everglades. In 1999, we decided that channelizing the river was maybe not the best idea, and broke ground on what would become the largest river restoration project in the world. It aimed to restore over 25,000 acres of floodplain and wetlands, and return 44 miles of the Kissimmee River back to its winding natural path.
Now we have 44 miles of the natural river channel, where before we had 17 miles.
Almost immediately, we saw the wildlife return.
And this proves that you can restore a river that has been channelized.
It's just remarkable.
During the restoration process, some existing primitive campsites ended up underwater, or too far from the river's edge to work well for paddlers. Florida Paddling Trails Association worked closely with the South Florida Water Management District to reestablish these campgrounds in low-impact areas of the river and record mapping information such as GPS coordinates and distances between camps to make the journey possible for more paddlers in the future.
That just enables more people to do this, and I'm hearing a lot of interest. More people want to kayak this river.
If paddling the Kissimmee River is on your bucket list, head to floridapaddlingtrails.com to download maps, guides, and everything you need to plan a successful trip. Happy paddling.
Now, I will say that this, thank you. I will say that this paddling trail is not for the standard rec users. This is a serious paddling trail. There's a lot of documentation about safety, about using flags on your kayaks, and paddling 18 miles is not for the weak of heart. Okay, so for my airboater friends, I want to assure you, you're not going to be inundated with a lot of rec paddlers out here doing 18-mile sections on the trail. So in recognition of the work of the South Florida Water Management District and the Rec Users Forum, I'd like to ask Drew, Dan, and Michael to come forward, please. If you guys would come up over here, please. We have to paddle it now? You have to paddle, yeah, now you have to paddle it. Okay, in recognition of Michael Cheek's leadership and the esprit de corps of the South Florida Water Management District Rec Users Forum, the Florida Paddling Trails Association is presenting the 2024 President's Award to Michael Cheek and to the South Florida Water Management District. The President's Award is considered the highest recognition in our nonprofit organization, therefore is limited to only one recipient annually who has made an extraordinary efforts supporting our mission. So on behalf of the Florida Paddling Trails Association, we'd like to present the recognition plaques.
You're in a good spot. 1, 2, 3. Let me take a few. Perfect. Can I give you my camera real quick? Yes.
Here you go. Thank you.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. After the presentation, we have an open few minutes here for any comments. Also on Zoom, if anyone in Zoom has a comment, now's the time to raise your hand.
We don't have anyone on Zoom, Mr. Cook.
Thank you. Anytime I mention the Kissimmee River, haven't been around here a while, worst thing that ever happened to the environment and the ecology, not just South Florida, but Central Florida, when they channelized the Kissimmee River. It was the #1 disaster in all of Florida when it came to the environment of the state. Destroyed thousands and thousands of acres of wetland. But even worse, it fatally, almost, destroyed Lake Okeechobee. It is directly responsible for 50 years of muck and pollution that is accumulated in the bottom of Lake Okeechobee. A disaster that will be beyond our lifetime to fix. There's a guy who sat there and watched this happen. Johnny Jones. He saw the damage that it was going to cause. Was way ahead of the game, and unfortunately went to his grave before any real remedy came along. And we have managed to restore a certain portion of it, and it's beautiful, as these people who paddle it will tell you, other than going down a canal, looking at two banks. Still have a great challenge north of the lake, a great challenge. Has made progress. Cannot stop looking north of the lake and what can be done to improve the water that's coming down the system and do something about Lake Okeechobee. Very bad straits. Anybody wants to disagree about that Lake Okeechobee, raise your hand. Thank you very much, you guys. All right, next on the list, place dear to my heart, the green heart of the Everglades property and draft interim land management plan update by Justin Nolte. Thank you, Justin.
All right, thank you, Newton. My turn. Good evening, everyone. I appreciate you coming out. To kind of echo Drew and Newton's comments, I want to sincerely, or make it known that we sincerely appreciate y'all making it a priority to come out here and be involved in the planning and management of the recreational opportunities on district lands. After considering the input the district received after the last rec forum in Naples, I have a brief update on the status of the interim land management plan. I'll say a very brief update. And actually, before I get started, Bishop and FSCA, I want to apologize for not making it to the awards or the 30th anniversary dinner. My wedding anniversary took precedence. I apologize for that. But I appreciate the invite. All right, for those folks who may not be familiar with with this property, the district recently acquired the 11,053 acres Greenheart property in Collier County. This property is tucked away there between the Big Cypress National Preserve, Everglades National Park, and the Fakahatchee Strand State Preserve. And the district, since acquisition, the district has been developing an interim land management plan with stakeholder input for this property. And at the last rec forum meeting, the district had proposed transferring those lands north of 41 to DEP to be incorporated into Fakahatchee Strand State Preserve. Now, if you're at the last rec forum like I was, that proposal was not well received. And so the main substantive update to this plan is the district has removed any language relevant to the transfer of lands to DEP. In other words, the district is going to retain all those lands that were acquired and include them in the green heart of the Everglades management area. So where does this take us? Staff will present a resolution to the governing board at the August board meeting where we will ask the board to adopt the interim management plan, designate the entire property as a management area, authorize FWC to create a public small game hunt area, and with that, in this interim period, staff will work with FWC to amend the existing multi-site agreement and develop area regulations, that the same regulations we're all familiar with in other management areas. So what does this mean for the near future? So the management area designation in the near future is we lift the default sunrise to sunset regulations and restrictions on the property, so it's open 24/7. We continue to allow fishing and boating and other passive recreational use. The navigable waters will remain accessible in accordance with state and federal law. And then in the coming year, staff will be in the field identifying the specifics of what we have and what we need to open this property up, including identifying the boundaries, creating public access points, establishing the hunting seasons, and determining other recreational use opportunities out there. So, like I said, this is a very brief update. So the biggest takeaway is that the district's keeping the property and we're going to incorporate it into a management area. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Okay, I just want to make a comment. We had a meeting on this property, on the West Coast. Probably as many people here today showed up and expressed themselves about what they wanted to happen to this property. A lot of things were up in the air. And I think those of us that were there, seen here in this still short presentation, Water Management District listens to their stakeholders. Because what we see here is probably 90% of what the people were wishing for and holding their hands up for, looking at the fact that a lot of the property was not going to be available. So thank you for everyone who came to that meeting, and I hope everyone who came to that meeting might be looking here tonight and say, you know, they listened to us, and that's important. With that, and that's my public comment. With that, we'll start to the left. Anyone have any comment? Yes, Bishop.
I want to say this forum works, and thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. And I don't see the man from Colorado here, and I'm glad of that.
That is an inside joke, and if you weren't at the other meeting, you don't know it. Yes, sir, just keep going. All right.
Pat Nelson, FSCA. I want to reiterate what Bishop said and thank Drew, Justin, all y'all personally for your interaction. And listen, we were proud to sign off on a letter that expressed, our desire for y'all to keep it a not DEP, and we really appreciate your work on this.
All around, anyone else? Yes, sir.
All right.
Smith, Everglades Airboat Resorts. Again, like all the rest, I want to thank the staff, Jennifer, Drew, everybody involved in this, because it is different from where it started. We really thought we was going to lose everything on the north side of the road, and that was all the recreation, but also from the commercial side. This is how we make our living. I was born and raised there. I'm sixth generation from that little city right there, and it hurts to see that we were getting ready to lose every bit of it, And aside from the guy from Colorado, I got the guy with me to set him straight.
If anyone down there, yeah, okay, Mike.
Hey, Newton. Mike Elfenbein. Drew, thank you. Thank you to your team, everybody at the district. Without a doubt, I can't say it better than everybody else, but you guys listened to what we had to say. You considered everybody's point of view. And more importantly, you guys did something huge by conserving this land in perpetuity for all of us to enjoy forever. And it'll be forever a part of the wildlife corridor. And it'll forever be available for recreation, for sportsmen, for kayakers, for bird watchers. And it's a great opportunity. Look forward to working with you and all your other partners and our partners in making this a really wonderful thing. Maybe a showcase other people can duplicate. Thank you, Drew.
Yes, sir.
Dwayne Daniels, Junglers Airboat Tours, and same with Ricky. I really appreciate the opportunity to even being here and being part of this and everything going like we kind of hoped for. Especially like to thank you for the last meeting in Naples.
Stephen Lenz, Everglades City Airboat Tours. I came all the way out here to thank you guys in person. It means a lot to me, my family, that you guys listened, like Newton said, but you really listened. It wasn't just in one ear, out the other, you really listened. And it's been a long deal from the very first meeting that we had to where we are now, and the people in Everglades City appreciate what you have done. Thank you.
Okay, yes, sir.
Richard Martinez with the Florida chapter, Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. Just wanted to echo some of the other comments. I didn't get to make the last meeting, but I did listen on Zoom, and we did sign on to that letter as well, and really appreciate y'all opening that up to us. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, now, I want to remind the folks out on Zoom, now's the time to raise your hand. We're looking closely here, and if hand doesn't go up pretty soon, we're going to move to the next agenda item. Well, Zoom land seems to be pretty quiet. Drew, you want to make a comment?
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks everyone for coming, and thanks for the engagement in Collier County too, when we were over there. I really wanted to thank, Jennifer Reynolds and Rory and Mike and everybody on the team for trying to figure this out. We really don't have land that we manage in that area, so for us to adapt, to figure out how to staff it, how to put things out there, it was a big ask for them to give me the comfort that we could actually make this happen. But I also want to thank Sean Hamilton and Mara Gambinelli at the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, because this is going to be a highly recreated area, and we're going to manage it, to be sustainable, but a very accessible place in that area of the state, right? And so they have committed to help me to make sure that we have the resources necessary to staff it and to get the recreational facilities up and running. So it really was a joint effort with us and DEP to try to get it positioned in the right place and then resource it such that it can be accessible and managed very well as a conservation land with sustainable recreation on it, so, which is not, a simple thing. There's a lot of engagement here. You'll continue to engage as we write the details in that management plan, and I'm counting on it. But I just wanted to, thank the staff and thank DEP for working with us to get us to this point.
Okay, we have someone on the Zoom.
Yes, we have Patrick Eiler. Please state your name for the record.
Yeah, hi all. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Patrick Eiler with Family Lands Remembered. I just wanted to chime in and thank the district staff, Drew, as well as all the stakeholders there. As Mike said, you don't very often hear about government listening to stakeholders all the time, and I really appreciate seeing that. And this land, as Drew said, is highly recreated, and to have it open to the public for in perpetuity, like Mike said, is really important. So I just wanted to thank you guys and appreciate all your hard work.
Thank you very much. Anyone else?
No, we don't have any more raised hands.
Okay, thank you for the presentation, and we'll move to the next agenda item. Is the SEP North overview of the L5 canal improvements. Greg Nolte.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Greg Nolte. I'm the project manager for the SEP North program, and I appreciate the opportunity to come back to the Rec Forum meeting to present again on SEP North. I was here in September when some of our projects were in early and intermediate design phases. We've taken some comments, we've incorporated them into our design, and I'm back to give an update. For the agenda, I just wanted to, again, kind of set the stage for the SEP overview, to explain what it is and its purpose, to present the SEP North features, and to update details specifically on the L5 canal improvements and the S622 gated culvert. These are the two features that have progressed in design into final, and we're looking later this year, early next year, to go to construction. And then I'll also give a status of the other future activities. So the SEP overview, the project purpose of SEP is to increase the quantity, quality, timing, and distribution of the water into the Central Everglades coming out of Lake Okeechobee, and specifically for SEP North, it's to provide additional water to the northwest corner of Water Conservation Area 3A to reduce the period of dryouts and to improve the habitat conditions. Due to the size of SEP, it was broken up into 4 different phases from north to south. SEP EAA is to improve the conveyance, storage, and treatment capacities in the EAA. SEP North redistributes water along the northern portion of 3A from east to west. SEP South increases the flow of water out of 3A by opening up the southern end of the system. Oh, and I don't have my pointer. SEP North water provides seepage protection to keep water in the park and to reduce the pumping needs. Here's SEP New Water, SEP South. SEP North is along the red line. This up here is all SEP EAA. The SEP North features, as they were listed in the PIR of 2014, S620, and starting from the east, working in the flow of the water to the west. S620 was a gated culvert. We're under construction with it right now. We're scheduled to be complete with construction in February. Some of these items, some of these authorized features have changed slightly. The district has done some extensive modeling that has informed the design improvements to ensure that the project's purpose is met. So S621 is a gated spillway. Through that modeling, we've determined that that spillway is not needed at this time, so we are not under design for that, and it's currently being on hold. 622 is a gated, in the PIR it was listed as gated spillway. It's actually a gated culvert, and that's one of the items that I want to touch base on tonight. S8A gated culverts and connecting canal is this area right here that will connect the Miami Canal just south of S8 pump station to the L4 canal. S630 pump station is a pump station, or in the PIR it was listed as a pump station. It's changed to a gated culvert, but it's on the west end of the L4. The L4 D grade has changed. It's no longer a D grade, more on it in the presentation. It's actually a canal improvements and with some culverts and spreader swales. The Miami Canal backfill is 13.5 miles of backfilling the Miami Canal, roughly about 1.5 miles south of S8 all the way down to Interstate 75. And then the two L5 canal improvement projects, the L5 Remnant Canal, which is that canal, that portion of the canal between US 27 and S622, and the L5 canal improvements, which is that portion of the canal from 622 on west to the S8 pump station. This is an aerial graphic of the L5 Remnant Canal and the S622 gated culvert. The Remnant Canal, again, stretches from roughly North New River, just to the west of US 27, all the way to Palmer's Crossing here, just south of the Griffin Rock Pits. We're looking to convey 500 CFS through this portion of the canal, and then from from STA 3-4 discharge canal over to S7, that'll convey 2,500 CFS. The designs do include kiosks, open shelters, and 2 boat ramps and parking lots. I would like to make a distinction here. I think there was a little bit of confusion back in September when I was here between boat ramps and buggy ramps. When I refer to boat ramps, I'm talking about a ramp from the top of the levee down into the canal to launch a boat into the canal. A buggy ramp is what I'm referring to is from the levee down to the water conservation area. So to launch a buggy or an airboat down in the conservation land. The designs will include 2 boat ramps, again, a ramp to go down into the canal. At all times, we will have access to the south levee, whether or not that will be at Palmer's Crossing or once S622 gets constructed, then that access to the south levee will be switched to cross at the 622. Our targets for construction, we're looking to start in February of next year on the L5 Remnant Canal, and we're looking to start in April in the S622 construction. During construction of the L5 Remnant, that south levee will be closed at all times. The reason for this is that we anticipate that we'll need to do some blasting and then excavating of that material, and the excess material that we're excavating out of the L5 Remnant, then we will be placing on the south side of the south levee, and we'll be overbuilding that south levee. So there's going to be a lot of construction, a lot of activity along that south side. So we're going to be closing it during construction. We will keep the north levee open at all times. Actually, trying to keep the north levee open throughout all construction of all SEP programs. The North Levee provides us access to the S8 pump station, our staff, our materials, our fuel that has to be trucked out the S8, that North Levee needs to remain open. Although with that said, during blasting, during construction, there will be temporary road closures. The traffic will be stopped. Blasting will occur. Once it's safe and it's all clears given, then traffic will resume along the North Levee. This is a schematic of the S622. It'll be located on the west end of the L5 Remnant Canal. You can see the boat ramp there to the left or to the west of the structure. It's proposed right now where Palmer's Crossing is, and of course that will be excavated out to create the new canal. The other boat ramp is located to the right, to the east of the structure, off the picture, but that'll be where the second boat ramp is located. The little green square south of the structure is a kiosk. That'll be a kiosk, a shelter, some parking. That the south of the South Levee will be widened out. It'll be a nice flat area there to be able to trailer a boat, to turn around, to use the boat ramp. The access across the structure is 30 feet wide, so plenty wide for public access. The picture in the upper left-hand corner is an example of what 622 would look like. Also with construction, we've identified a dredge material management area, or a DMMA, and also a stockpile area. These will be utilized during construction of the L5 Remnant Canal, the 622 culvert, as well as the L5 canal later on. All the unsatisfactory material that's in the bottom of the L5 Remnant Canal will be dredged out. It'll be placed in the DMMA area, which is the area, which is this area. And then any of the excess good spoil materials for future use would be stockpiled here on the stockpile area. Harold A. Campbell Public Use Area will remain open. There is no planned closures for that, so that will remain open to the public. And then along the access road to the public use area, there is an area here where we're going to set up some construction trailers. So there'll be construction trailers out there, I would imagine, for the next 3 to 5 years during construction. This is S8A. Before I go there, those two projects, the L5 Remnant Canal and the S622 gated culvert, those, as I mentioned, will be going to construction early next year, and those are the ones that we're finalizing the design on and getting ready to move out on. Just some updates on the other features of SEP North. The S8A gated spillway. Through the extensive modeling that the district has done, we've realized that we can just use one inline structure. The PIR also identified a lateral structure here in the connector canal, and because of some improvements that we made in the L4 canal, we can eliminate the lateral structure. So there'll be roughly just south of the existing boat ramp, a new S8 spillway, and then the new canal will be excavated, connecting the Miami Canal to the L4 canal. We are in intermediate. We're getting ready to start intermediate design. In fact, I'm looking to start that here just this next month. here in a couple of weeks. I'm looking to start that design. And again, in the future, I'll be back to get any kind of comments, to get input, some feedback to incorporate into the design. One thing we are looking at is we're looking at there will be a berm to the south side of this connector canal, and we're looking to provide a buggy ramp to the water conservation area because the one farther to the west will be eliminated. So we're looking to replace that most likely along this levee. The L4 canal improvements, the S630 gated culvert, the L4 canal improvements, that's probably the feature that has changed the most. The PIR has identified it as a levee degrade. It was just supposed to be the removal of the south levee. Through our extensive modeling, we found that to be able to distribute and to deliver the water into the water conservation area in a nice uniform sheet flow pattern, we could put 3 culverts through the levee and with spreader swales downstream of each of those culverts to be able to, again, deliver that water into the water conservation area. Also, we found that the L6 canal, the L4 canal is undersized and it needs to be enlarged. So we're going to be doing some canal improvements to the L4. The S630 gated culvert is on the west end, is here on the west end of the project. Again, it provides water supply to the tribal nations. We're going to be starting design for it in July, and again, we'll be back to future meetings again to get feedback and input for those features. And lastly, the Miami Canal backfill and vegetated hammocks. We have conducted a workshop with the Recover group, which Recover is a group of scientists and other stakeholders that we've come together and have developed a lot of good ideas and a lot of good design basis for the vegetated hammocks. We're looking to start a conceptual design here next month, and again, there will be additional workshops and stakeholder outreach to develop the recreational plans for that feature. One thing, the L5 canal, I forgot to mention, the L5 canal, which is that portion again between 622 and the L5, that is in final design. It completed final design, but it will be on hold, and we will couple that with the Miami Canal and bid that together. So we'll have one contractor excavating and then backfilling the Miami Canal. But that's planned for 3 years from now. In the PIR, this was the recreational plan. We had access along the L5 levee. Again, we're maintaining that throughout the projects. It includes 3 shelters, 2 boat ramps, additional parking, maintaining the vehicle access along L5 Canal and Palmer's Crossings, and the public currently has access for the entire length of the L4, L5 from US 27 to S8. 24/7, and we're working hard to maintain that access. So with that concludes my presentation, and I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much. I'll see some hands, I'm sure. Yes, sir.
How you doing? Thanks for having this presentation. I want to say thanks for clarifying that you're not going to have that levee closed down, because last time it was questionable. We definitely need that access to the west side of the Miami Canal added back if we're losing that buggy ramp to the west. The only concern I have is you're pushing in 13 and a half miles of the Miami Canal. So that's 27 miles of dry land on each side where a lot of fur-bearing animals reside at this moment. And I don't remember how many tree islands you were going to build, but it did not seem like enough to me.
There are, yes, you're absolutely right. There are a number of spoil piles along both sides of the Miami Canal, as you're well aware. Some of them have been, are designated to remain by FWC. We've been working with FWC, and we are, a number of them are going to remain, but most of them will be used to backfill Miami Canal. The idea is to render Miami Canal much like the Kissimmee River, invisible to, hydraulically invisible, and just restore it back to the way it was before. We do plan on building, I think it's 13 vegetated hammocks in that area, and then save the spoil mounds that FWC has identified. You're welcome.
Anyone else as we go around here? Mike?
Thank you, Greg. That was a lot, but appreciate it. And I have two specific questions. I'm going to go with the low-hanging fruit first, if you'll indulge me. There was some discussion when the L5 canal improvements were being planned about creating some kind of upland habitat for wildlife. Is there still no opportunity there with all that material to maybe build an island or two, or call it a test plot or something?
Yeah, you're right. We did take a look at that. We are constrained within the right-of-way, and we worked with the scientists, we worked with the management. In the design, it was really too small to be able to, worth the benefit. It was going to be too small, and also it was going to be a maintenance issue. There was going to be, and we just felt like it wasn't going to be the product, long-term, it wasn't going to be the product that we thought it was going to be.
Gotcha, thank you. And then the next one might be a little bit more in depth, but there's a lot of projects up there. I mean, if you could go back to that very first slide, the SEP slide, and then you talked about the L4, and it sounds like there's a whole lot of water being proposed to be sent down into 3A. And I happen to have with me today the IDS for 2020 and 2023. And so one of those projects on that IDS is the Miami Canal backfill and the tree islands. And so in the 2020 IDS, that project would have been done in a year and a half. And the new 2023 IDS, and I don't know what 24 IDS has, the project will be done in like 2030. So I'm like, if you look at conditions right now, and I know we're working on a deviation for water going down the S12s, but I haven't looked today, to be honest with you. I don't know what the numbers say, but I think we're still over regulation for 3A, and that happened in like 36 hours. And so the S12s aren't open today. They should be. If we were going towards that conditions-based operation, those gates would have been opened last week, and so they're still closed. And so we're talking about sending more water down there, and we've got a project that has literally been kicked. I mean, I'm looking at it in front of me while I'm talking to you. It's been kicked down the can. The can's been kicked down the road an additional 6 years. And so there's not really any kind of affirmation that we're even going to adhere to what's written on here now, because if you look at precedent, they just keep kicking it. So I'm kind of worried that we're putting the cart ahead of the horse and rushing to put more water into 3A without giving us the ability to let it out the bottom. I'm really, really worried. And so do you, I guess the short of the long is, do you have a date when we're going to start backfilling the Miami Canal, or is there maybe you know what the 24 IDS says before we do?
Yes, there is a lot. there is a lot to the Miami Canal backfill. Our design, typically, we do like a gated culvert. We have standards that we can go to and that we pull from. The Miami Canal backfill and the tree islands, there are no standards. So our design is going to be starting, I said this year, next month, actually. We're looking to do a design report first. That design report will incorporate the recovery information. It'll also incorporate a lot of the information to design the tree islands. I'm thinking that backfill of the Miami Canal, and I don't have my schedule with me, I apologize, but I think the actual backfilling of the Miami Canal is 27, I want to say. So we're going to be a good 2 years in design.
So the 2030 date for backfilling the Miami Canal being finished is real? You would say that's achievable?
I would say that would be early. And two, we are looking to do it in segments where we right now, and this is all subject to change, we're looking to backfill the south half first and then work north. So yeah. You're welcome.
Well, I thought I'd add on, Mike, so the staff is trying to line up the backfill of the Miami Canal with the canal work too, because of materials management. And in 2020, we didn't really have an appreciation of the logistics and complexity of that whole project. And so that's why you saw the big difference in the IDS, is when we started getting into design and realizing the complexity and redesigning parts of it. None of this IDS is built with funding constraints in mind. It's more like engineering and how can we get it done. So, I of course lean on staff to move expeditiously, but not just SEP North, all across the system, opening up more culverts down south, everything. So, we're trying to get it to a place as quickly as we can where it more mimics nature. We're never going to get all the way back there, but we're doing what we can to move as quickly as we can.
We are done with survey. We finished, the survey took us a year, 14 months, and we did finish it in March. So we're making progress. You're welcome.
Yes, sir, Fred.
Mark Barton with Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. This is just a quick question. The L5 Remnant Canal, when that blasting is occurring, that's going to close that road. That's also the main access point for Holy Land and Rottenberger WMAs. Is there a plan to create a detour route for people to get out there, or are we just going to close down 2 WMAs?
No. It'll be a temporary closure. What I'm thinking is that, and when I say temporary, I'm talking maybe an hour. They'll set up flagmen. They'll stop. We'll blast. We'll do the all clear. We'll open it back up for traffic. So it won't be days.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that.
Yep.
All right, Fred.
I don't know how many people in this room knew or remember Walt Deneen. His picture used to be out at the entrance to this room. He was probably the first district employee that understood the relationship between the ecology of the Everglades and the hydrology of the Everglades. When the discussion began about how to improve the Everglades, started in the early 1980s, Walt recommended backfilling the Miami Canal. So it's only been 50 years to come up with a plan. Thank you very much, and I know Walt is smiling in heaven.
Yes, Fred, we all remember 30 years ago. Yeah, Bishop.
Trying to look ahead a little bit here. When you close down the crossover right there, when you come to the bottom of the bridge to close down the South Trail, there's a lot of camping that happens there, all right? And that would be okay if we still had some of the camping that we had around the pump station. And I understand we got to close off the camping close to the pump station, but I think we've overreached the boundary of that camping area. And we need to revisit and look at those no camping signs down there by the pump station. Because when you close off this South Road and Palmer's Crossing and all that, that's where everybody's camping now. And it's going to be a hardship there for camping because you've now take away camping at both ends. So I just think we need to evaluate the camping situation out there and kind of see where we're headed, because we're headed for disaster the way I look at it right now.
Thank you, and noted. We will take a look at that. Yep.
That area, if it's not designed so that there's room for the people to camp and do things that they've, historically done there, then you end up with some real, Wild West stories in a hurry, because you start crowding people into small areas. So you want to be sure to allow the proper space for these people. Anyone on Zoom?
Have no raised hand on Zoom, Mr. Cook.
It's always a deja vu all over it again. There used to be a program called Decomp, kind of disappeared. I think it's still there somewhere, where we're going to fill in canals. And the one thing it brought out to these meetings was the bass fishermen. They showed up in droves for a few years. So when I see basically what we're doing here is decomping the Miami Canal for 13 miles, is that what it is?
Yes.
There was a discovery that kind of put the quietus to that, and that is cost. Cost, because the mistaken idea was you could just push the levees over and it'd fill in the canal, and they found out that was about a third of the field that you needed. So we got into the game of how many thousands of truckloads of rock was going to be needed. And I noticed there's nothing said here about where's all the material going to come from to fill in this canal.
So the material to fill in the Miami Canal will come from a couple of different areas. The spoil piles along both sides, the east and west, and then the excavated material coming out of the L5 canal. Again, that portion of the L5 canal from 622 west to S8. And we are actually going through a materials management plan to figure out what we're going to do with the excess material. So that's some issues that we're looking at.
Crucial part of this is what are you going to leave behind? And the tree islands, obviously that's the positive thing that everybody in this room would love to see. And then we talk about you're going to destroy some, I think, tree islands that are already out there that the FWC, I believe, put in order to fill the canal. So what assurance do we have that we're going to have some semblance of the old Everglades when we had some large tree islands out there for the wildlife? Because right now, 3A is always too deep. Now we're going to put more water in 3A. That's moving in the right direction, I guess, if we can get it out of the bottom. So that's the next question. If you're going to be throwing more water down into 3A by removing this canal, and the S12s are closed, how much longer is 3A going to be closed to the public every year when we have a little bit of a rainstorm, which is most years? Has that been calculated?
Greg, this isn't yours. So Newton, you know that this board has been focused on that and working on it. So we do know that the Corps of Engineers is going through change to the regulation schedule so that those gates can get open, conditions-based, 12A and B, 343s, 344s. We are starting construction on 3 new culverts to go on the L28 levee so we can have better drainage there. Probably within 2 years, we'll have a raised Tamiami Trail so we can raise the canal level to get more water under the bridges. We just finished the seepage wall so that we don't have to shut those gates every time the 8.5 square mile area floods. And ultimately, the Corps has on their schedule to add more culverts along the L67 to move water through additional culverts and under the bridges in time. So it's just a lot of work that is ongoing to try to create those opportunities, not only construction-wise, but also in changing the schedule. So there's no shortage of interest in doing what you're talking about.
Thank you very much. Bishop?
Sorry, Newton, but I couldn't resist. I have to answer your question. You're not going to have to worry about the closures anymore, because when you don't have the tree islands and you got all that water, you're not going to have no deer, so we don't need to close the area no more. It'll be just a nice lake.
Okay, anyone else? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda, stormwater treatment areas, STAs, updates. James Harbaugh, Jim. Recreation planner for the Water Management District, and anytime you say STAs, expect the lights to light up. Thank you.
Good evening. All right. There I am. I changed my picture to represent me the way I'm actually at. Can you hear me? Okay. Put on a couple pounds since my last picture. So anyways, next. March, I did not have any type of numbers for the STAs for what happened over the season. So I thought I'd do a little brief overview of the harvest of alligators and waterfowl in the STAs. This is real brief, just kind of higher level. This upper right-hand side basically is the harvest from last year compared to this year. So it's raw numbers. It's just a straightforward graph there. And overall, it's similar. Maybe a few more in STA 5-6. A1 FEB was almost dead nuts the same. 3-4, little decline. 1 West, we didn't have anything in the north, or we didn't have any hunting in we did have hunting in 1 East last year, but the year prior we did not. So I don't have anything data to go with that. This graph over here is a percentage of the quota that was harvested. So it's not a number, it's a percentage. And it shows that last year that our percentages of the quotas were up or nearly the same. So it's kind of showing that the STAs are pretty consistent with their harvest. These numbers here are just the raw numbers in the table. The increase of the harvest is due to last year we didn't have any harvest in 1 North. In the 1 West North portion of the Alligator Management Unit. 1 East there wasn't any, and STA 2 there wasn't any either. But there's about 97, there's the numbers right there. That's where the increase is coming from. I got a frog, I'm fighting all morning, so pardon me. This is waterfowl data. This is a comparison of it's a harvest, yeah, that's right, okay. It's a percentage, no, it's, something's not right about this, anyways, we'll go with it. The harvest is, I know what this is the direct correlation between the harvest and the harvest days, hunter days. So the gold on this side, the blue on this side, orange, is the harvest, how many ducks were harvested in the STA and how many hunter days we had. And we do see a decline, in one west of hunter days, but then we're seeing an increase in hunter days because of the construction during this period here. STA 2, we're starting to show a little bit of an incline in the harvest days because the construction is starting to end in some of these STAs. And that's basically all that's showing here. STA 3-4 has been pretty consistent with the hunter days. Harvest goes up and down, seasonal variations. Some years are better than others. STA 5-6, obviously we had a major decrease. The vegetation in there has been a challenge. Access has been a challenge because of the invasive species that we have, the FAV, lettuce in particular, and then also spatterdock. This is what the graph I was expecting last time. This is basically the average success rate per day per hunter in the STA. It's not indicative of anything for the season, but it is showing a trend that's up and down. Kind of shows here we had fewer ducks, fewer hunting opportunities, but it's just kind of staying the same. If these numbers stay the same, it's showing that the quota numbers are working, that we're having quality hunts, and that we're not having a major increase of pressure and then chasing the ducks out. STA 5-6, again, it is what it is. Pardon me. All right, so that was numbers from last year, real brief and fast. This year, the updates, there will not be an alligator hunt in STA 1 East. Last year was the first hunt, and it's unfortunate that we have to not have a hunt for a couple of years. There's going to be a major project in the central flowway, which the haul routes and construction times are going to make it nearly impossible to access into the STA without being affected by the construction. So 2026 is the earliest we'll be able to have another hunt in there. So this year, no hunts probably next year either. So it is what it is this year. One West, access is going to be fairly unrestrained, other than trying to keep people away from the western portion of the STA, where we have hunters that are oftentimes accessing into the canal and then illegally and then doing activities. So we're going to try to avoid having that as an option. So go in back to the old one off of by the Rice Mill Road there, enter by that gate, set up the staging area where it's been for a couple of years, and then access these levees that way. There's going to be a reduction in the quota. This was some from feedback that we had at a meeting, excuse me, right after the STA or after the waterfowl season with a bunch of y'all. You showed up in that. And there was a general consensus that there was some overcrowding issues. And we're going to drop them 5 on each day. So the Friday hunts, Saturday hunts, the Friday and Sunday hunts, which is in the expansion area, are going to be going down to 35. And then in 5B on the Saturday hunts, the same. So reducing it just a little bit to try to get some of the overcrowding issues taken care of. Access still closed in the north or southeast portion of this. There's that construction of that, I can't remember the number, the name. It's the G730, I believe. No, that's 780, thank you. So that's going to be closed just for another year. Hopefully they'll have that completed. And then the expansion 2, that's still under construction, so there's no access planned for this year. or until that's completed. And then it'll be the process of, once it is turned over to Saltwater Water Management, governing board approval, et cetera, that we've done in the past. There will be some plantings over in 5B, over on the eastern portion. They're going to put signs up again this year. That's also part of the reason why there's a little bit of reduction. Some of that area that used to be huntable is not accessible due to some of the new plantings. Alligator, not much different. Same thing, trying to keep people out of the western portion of the STA. That's the outflow collection canals. It's posted. And so it's going to be pretty much the same as it was last year, too. STA 2, last year we tried to do a hunt, or we didn't try, we moved the hunts from Saturday to Sundays. We're going to move it back to Saturday. A lot of the work that was down in this area here is either completed, or it was a lot of the work that was completed, so that's not an issue anymore. We still have some work down over in the southeastern portion of the STA, so keep that out. We're going to enter from the Okalante Bridge again. Last year, trying to enter from the North Bridge was a nightmare with the people stacking up on the highway at 2, 3 in the morning. So for safety, go back to the South Bridge, put the check-in station where it was last year also, so that at least people are able to get off the highway and have a place to park while they wait. The quota will increase in this one a little slightly, so we're losing a little bit in 1 West expansion and the other 1 West as well. But cells 5 and 6 up here, they have some of the feedback we got from that meeting was that there was potential for more hunting opportunity in these areas, so we're going to expand upon that. We had some trail maintenance or trail installs in this area on cell 4. Those trails have survived through the season. They're slowly starting to re-veg back in, so we're going to do some maintenance on them with some herbicide types of treatments just to keep them so they're open so we don't lose them. STA 2 alligator, it's been a couple of years since there's been any hunts in here. And for you that drew a tag in here, congratulations, there's some big dinosaurs in here. I've been seeing some when I was up in there, so this is going to be like the 1 East was, a lot of 10-footers. So there will be hunt this year. No hunting in the collection canals again, which is basically the south sides of 1, 2, 3, and 4. The harvest is the quota is going to be 35 or 70 alligators up to a maximum. I'll be harvested out of here. Looking forward to that hunt. STA 3-4, no quota change. Things surprisingly were very little negative feedback from here this year, last year. We had the trails that we had put in with the Marsh Master. They got utilized. Again, we're going to try to maintain those with a little bit of prescriptions. And so this is going to be nice that it's going to be the same. Cells 1A and 2A, they're still working on some excuse me, issues with vegetation in here, flow, so they're off limits yet. They're trying to get things established. One thing that the veg management team is working on is also trying to promote some more SAV in here. So they're going to be doing some aerial sprays of some large blocks to open up some cattail. In regards for water quality, this is not a habitat management program thing here. We just start thinking that. This is about the project, and we're trying to promote SAV for the STA function. Some of the side effects will be that there may be some improved habitat for waterfowl hunting in the future. SGA 3.4 quota in here is the same as was last year. Alligator hunting is pretty straightforward. As long as there's no major construction, there's very little disturbance in it. The levees are posted, the south side, down here, the outflow canals, no hunting in there. And our favorite STA. STA 5.6, big change here. The quota is going to be reduced again. It's just a challenge to get into these areas to hunt, but the few people that are hunting them, well, one, because there's not many opportunities, but the people who are getting in there are getting waterfowl, particularly the ones that know the area very well. It's the vegetation, like I mentioned, the spatterdock and some of the lettuce are some of the biggest challenges in there. Also water, having water in there and it dries up and all the other issues that are associated with that. Deer Fence Canal Road, we're going to close the Bloomberg access to the north July 1st. That access will be closed off, and we're going to the public use area access, which is off of Deer Fence Canal Road, so we need to spread the word on that, because I know a lot of y'all will probably go to here for alligator hunting and waterfowl hunting. And this is not going to have a parking spot designation like the other SGAs. It's going to be open levee access hunting, where basically the levee is open, you decide where you want to go in. Give you some freedom, otherwise that's too confined. Alligator, the harvest up here was up a little bit last year. Big change here is just the access off of Deer Fence Canal Road. Otherwise, it's the same. The eastern side of the outflow canals are going to be closed as well. And they're posted already. A1 FEB waterfall. There's same business as last year. Basically, this portion, the north and the west side, or the west, west and north side are closed due to construction over at A2 impoundment or reservoir and the STA. Alligator, same thing, not much different. Should be the same as it was last year. The one thing I need to point out is since there is a lot of access in here during the daytime, even the hunting hours they're going to be consistent with the STAs. So alligator hunting is not a 24-hour ordeal. So there's no midday hunting of alligators in there. We do have the recreational page, a link to the placemats, and also the STA Hunter fact sheet that's in front of you is online. Here's the link. So if y'all are in there, and it's got some good information in there. This was brought up last September, that we need to do some type of education. This is the beginning of that education. I think there's more things that we're going to do. Put this on FWC website, and then see what else develops. So it's the beginning. We heard you, and we're pushing it forward. And that is all I've got. This is Billy Boatwright's group, STA 5.6. They stayed out at Dupuy last year, and this was their harvest during their youth hunt.
Chair's prerogative. Would you go back to the waterfowl data 2023 versus 2022 slide early on? Has all four of the SDAs.
This one here or the next one?
That's the one. All right, let's look up at 1 West at the top left-hand corner. I notice over there on 2019, the hunting effort and the ducks shot. Now move your cursor all the way over to last year? What do you see?
Last year was a good year. at
Exactly the
STA, what
same.
was.
Now, tell me why you dropped 5 permits. We didn't have any crowding over there in the other place. Why are we losing 5 permits? No difference, except we're losing 5 permits. Why?
This was a response to some of the feedback we got from that meeting.
FWC decision, or the district doesn't normally determine anything like a drop in permits from 40 to 35. They do come in when we ask to go up on permits.
You want to respond, Cheyenne?
Is why are we taking away permits on the same piece of property with the same efforts in 2019 as we had last year, and nobody complained? And why are we taking permits off because people complain?
One of the suggestions we got during our meeting was that there were complaints of people kind of being parked on top of each other, and the only way to remedy that would be kind of drop the permit quota just a wee bit. So we did just a wee bit to see basically if that would fix the issue. We always have the potential to increase it again, like back to what it was. We want to see if this will help with that particular concern.
Why are we losing permits when we have exactly the same situation, same hunting effort, and we know for a fact that with the permits, all the people don't show up anyway? We're losing opportunity when you take away permits on a piece of property that's exactly the same as it was several years ago with the same number of people going out there. And the district is not unhappy with the number of people out there, so I'm not hollering at you. FWC needed to come see somebody and talk about this, and they didn't do it. That somebody might have been me, it might have been somebody, but I'm telling you, this is the first time I've heard this. And we've never had an SDA change like this happen before, that there wasn't a post-season meeting and this was discussed among the stakeholders. It was not discussed with the meeting I was at.
These numbers aren't written in stone yet either, Newton.
And Newton, I think, I attended that meeting. I think it was just in response to not so much the success rate, but that people were, complaining of the overcrowding. And if that's the case, we can revisit it with FWC.
Let's revisit. I'm gonna tell you, that overcrowding is for one reason, and one reason only. And that's because the district, and I have every right to do so, and I understand it, has shut down the levees that we used to have parking spots on. So we're gonna punish the hunters because the district, and I might say rightfully so, because the STAs are managed not for hunting, but for cleaning water, but the district shut down the levees. The hunters can cope with less places to park their trucks. They'll paddle.
If I
But
may.
when you take away the opportunity, that is something that is not acceptable, or because it's somebody complained about crowding.
If I may. Newton, one of the big differences between 2018 and 2024 is the access into cell 2B and 4 was available at that time. We don't have that access anymore because the vegetation has changed in there.
Arguing, I'm looking at the point is whatever the access was, same number of people, both years went, number of ducks are similar, properties are similar, it's the access is a problem. That's the district has made that the problem because of shutting down the levees. The hunters will live with that. I don't know a hunter here or anywhere that's going to want to give up 5 permits because somebody's complaining about some crowding. Paddle.
Okay. Well, Newton, why don't we talk about it? We'll get up with FWC and meet. Marcia, I don't know if you're online, if you've got any comments to that. I know when we talked about it, it was something, that we were proposing, you all were proposing with us to see if that was something that would be positive to eliminate regardless of how it came about, the overcrowding. But yeah, Newton, we can revisit it.
I'm not going to belabor the point. Hope we can get it fixed. Season's not here yet. We haven't written a rule. Anyone here? Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So in that meeting, Thomas McGoldrick, Florida Sportsman's Conservation Association, I was in that meeting. So all we asked for was that the parking spots be spread out and not have, say, 21 and 22 be parking in the exact same spot. We didn't ask for a reduction in permit numbers due to crowding. We asked for the parking spaces to be spread, not to lose 5 hunts. We already lose multiple morning hunts due to the fact of not having a morning walk-in any longer. So we're already losing opportunities there. And if you look, not for nothing, it's a pain in the butt to get a morning permit, whether it be on a reissue or as a standby. So losing permits, that's not the way to go about this. Just spreading the numbers out a little bit will cure the problem that everybody's complaining about.
Noted.
Next.
Mark Barton, Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. I think we're talking about the same meeting here. Are we talking about the meeting that we had at the FWC office down here? It was a small group of us that were discussing this, and I agree. We did not ask for the number of permits to be reduced. We were not in fact, we weren't even talking about the crowding in the hunting area. We're just talking about the crowding in the parking situation, and that is an easy thing to fix. You just change where the cars are going to park. There's no need for us to reduce the number of permits. That is not the answer here. All I got.
Mike?
Yeah, I was just going to kick the dead horse one more time. Just because I had it in my notes here. That was the only thing I saw out of all those slides that piqued my interest, and I would agree. I mean, Cheyenne offered that the response was to reduce the quotas, but it would appear that maybe we could spread out the parking and find a way to cost. I guess the issue is crossing the STA, right, Drew? If you disturb the soils. So would they have to go make like a new trail for everybody to come in at?
Yeah, we'll work with them to look at additional parking. I know Marsh is on here too, works closely with Cheyenne, and she wants to comment too, but I think it's the parking, spreading out the parking areas is what I'm hearing. So we'll work with them to see what we can come up with.
We have plenty of time tonight.
I just want to say one more thing.
You're more than welcome to make another comment.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I do appreciate that you guys listened to us in that meeting, because clearly you guys are trying to work on a number of things that we talked about. Just that one issue of the overcrowding and reducing permits was the part I didn't like, but everything else was good.
Yeah, Bishop.
Nothing to do with waterfowl, but STA 1 East. So we got it going under construction. Are we going to reduce the bike trail in there, or is that still, how does that work?
I haven't looked into how that's going to be affected up on the north side there. I think the haul route avoids that north side because they're not coming in from, they're coming in off of Flying Cow Road and they're heading south, so they're not going to be up on the bike trails on the north side, so there won't be any trucks up on the north side.
Go to Zoom. Patiently waiting out there. So folks out there, raise your hand and we'll be able to call on you.
Yes, we'll hear first from John Monty, followed by Marsha Ward. John, please unmute your mic.
Hey, Jim. Hello, everybody. Jim, one quick question. I have quite a few questions, actually, since there are a lot of concerns. At STA2, you're talking about increasing the permits from 30, which was 15 in the morning, 15 in the afternoon, to 35 permits. How are you going to split that up, the 35? Are you going to put more permits in there in the morning?
I think I may have put that number as the total for the day. That's not, so it would have been 15, oh, I see what you're saying. That's an odd number, it doesn't work that way. So, yeah. Yeah. We have to have a half a person out there each, in the morning and the afternoon. Yeah, we'll have to do like 36 or something like that, or 34, that makes sense.
Okay, and I'd like to mimic what Newton's saying, you know, being part of this now since for 20 some years, the reduction of permits. I mean, I don't know if you've looked, but there are a lot of permits that are going unused in the mornings because of this new permit system that went into effect. You know, from 2018, you have difference in permitting is because you started with the pick lists. People are not showing because of their pick number. You have and the other thing is you have a large number in that duck hunting community that are out there using fake names now. They're taking up the top 5 spots every morning at these popular STAs, and that's where you're getting your parking issue from, because these people using the fake names don't care where they park; they're going where they want to go. Over the years, I mean, this past year we've lost so much opportunity because of the walk-in situation, giving out pick numbers. I mean, if you're number 45 on the walk-in list at STA1, 90%, 98% of the chance you're not going to show up, and these permits are going unused. And I don't know where that overcrowding issue is coming from, especially in the mornings, because almost across every STA there's morning permits that go unused. What else was I going to say here? That's it. I'm sure I'll have another question here momentarily. I'm not sure if Cheyenne's going to speak after you or not. Oh, one more thing, Jim. I don't know if you're aware, but I guess, you know, I keep hearing there's no negative feedback. The people I talk to in the duck hunting community, which is a lot of people, had nothing but negative feedback across the STAs, mainly because of the permitting. When you go every year and you put these permits out and permits go unused or go to the same group of people and there's people not getting permits, there's a problem. When FWC law enforcement goes into 2 of the STAs in one morning and over 30% of the people in there do not belong in there because they're using a fake name, the permit system has an issue.
Thank you, John. And again, I want to reiterate what a lot of us at this comment are FWC problems. Sorry, Cheyenne, but they're FWC problems and not district problems. What else do we have out there?
Marcia, please unmute your mic.
Hey, good evening. This is Marcia Ward with the FWC. Can you hear me okay?
Can.
Okay, great. Thank you. I just quickly wanted to, for STA 2, I think what it was supposed to be was going from 15 to 20, which would make a total of 40 for the day for the hunt. So that was the increase we had contemplated there. And then just on the other topic of One West, we're happy to continue having more discussions on the permits there and ensuring the hunters are happy and working together. We had complaints a lot throughout the season on overcrowding and issues with the quality of the hunt. So looking at that and then the spaces that we have available to use for parking, that's what we were trying to achieve there, was just more hunter satisfaction with the hunt. But we're hearing feedback that maybe that's not the right solution, so we're happy to have continued discussions on that.
Thank you, Marcia, and thanks for all the work you do. We know how hard it is over the years, and the SDAs are always I guess the right word is difficult subject. Okay, anyone else? Yes, sir.
Not about the STAs.
No, we only SDAs for a little while longer. I'm watching the clock.
No. I'm going to say something about the FEB. You mentioned that in the FEB for for alligator hunting, you're not going to allow the 24-hour hunting. I would like to argue that you should, because the only people that are in there that are recreating during the day are fishermen, and they're basically doing the same thing that alligator hunters are doing. They're cruising around on a boat, casting lines and trying to hook things in the water, and then the only difference is at the end, they use a bank stick, which is pointed down and is underwater. I don't think any fishermen are going to have a problem with that. So,
Part of the reason for that decision is since all the other STAs don't allow it, 24-hour hunting for consistency. It's kind of hard to, it's just for consistency is the main reason for that.
but the FEB is not an STA,
This is true.
so we don't need to be consistent then, right?
Yes, sir. Right.
I'm Bill Helfrich. It's been 17 or 18 years ago since we started talking about public use in the STAs. And at that time, the waterfowl hunters wanted to be in there, and they were granted access. The fishermen, no, we can't possibly allow kayakers to go in there and fish. And I'm looking on the handout here that best hunting opportunities in South Florida in the STAs. And then you go down to the second paragraph, and it says, the district strongly prohibits any other recreators from entering the waters within the STAs, particularly with people fishing. How much damage is the guy on a kayak going to do in there?
We asked the same question about the duck hunters. We're not even allowed to, and good reason I might add, because of the way the water is flowing and the need to keep the water not being channelized through paths that are cut by kayaks or any other boat. So yes, your question has been asked for every year that we've hunted the SDAs. And I will tell you this, it was not much of a problem until we ran all the lake water in the SDAs about 6 or 7 years ago. And the vegetation got to be emergent vegetation instead of the submerged vegetation. And when you run kayaks and boats, duck hunters or anybody else, off the levees, where it runs with the water, then you're channelizing. And we have accepted that as duck hunters. We've accepted the fact that whole levees are closed down, and we have to launch off our other levees. But you see, when you're fishing, you can't control that. And with the duck hunters, it's very controlled with sparking spots. You can only depart off the levee and paddle in certain directions off a parking spot. So I agree, it would be nice if we could run the kayaks any way we wanted to and fish. And rightfully so, because the SDAs are managed for that flow, it's just not going to be allowed. I mean, it's a point I've made for a long time.
Play by the same rules as the hunters?
Sorry?
Fine, put us under a quota system.
I have to let the SDA manager speak to it. But I can tell you why we're restricted. Duck hunting is very much restricted on where you can launch your kayak and where you return to. You cannot put your goods out and go there and then motor around. You have to put the kayak in, and you have to go there, and then you have to come back. And it's something that doesn't go well with the fishing. And believe me, Brian Meharry, God bless him, would be right here if he could possibly get into that. Bishop.
I just got one comment. As for the hours of alligator hunting on the FEB and in the stormwater treatment area, my policy is, if it's not broke, don't try to fix it. It's perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Bishop. Okay. Anyone else back on Zoom?
No raised hands.
Yes, sir. One more.
My ignorance, because I don't know if I saw it or not, but on that data that had 5, 6, since 2020, you're looking at a massive decline in vegetation and opportunities. Do you have a deadline for kind of getting that restored?
They're working on, I know there's a whole bunch of projects work to stabilize that STA. That is definitely not my forte. I'm not the STA management on that, but I do know that there is stuff that they're working on.
Hey, Nathan Ralph, STA Site Manager. So your question's about STA 5.6? Sorry, could you just repeat it?
Talking about water aquatic vegetation and trying to open some areas up for birds. Do you have a deadline as far as that timeframe goes?
Yeah, so part of the issue with STA 5.6 is we don't have consistent hydrology there. So a lot of these cells dry out from year to year. We've actually implemented some new changes with some of the cells to hold water longer. I mean, without going through all the specifics, cells, let's see, section 2 and cell 4 down in STA 6, we actually are holding water just higher there. We're looking not to flow through, so hold water in there longer. The 2 cells south of that, cells 5 and 3, we actually closed the culverts through the dry season, and we just held as much water in there as we could, because those 2 cells dry out every dry season. And then this time of year, we got to reboot the cells. So by keeping water in these cells longer, we don't have to restart the biology every year, so it's better for the performance. Cells 4A and 5A dry out every year. So when we got all that rain 2 weeks ago, that went from dry to 2 feet of water. You're not going to get good performance when you let that water out, and we have to discharge the water if we exceed our target stages. So it's hard for us to have a lot of good SAV communities in that STA until we get more consistent year-round water. So we have a lot of emergent vegetation, we've got a lot of spatter dock. We're just trying to get the right vegetation and get good performance.
And I can add to that. So we also have another project that's under construction, and it's due to be completed this year. And that's the flow equalization basin that's immediately adjacent to STA 5.6. And so we've been working on that project. Like I said, it's due to be completed this year. We probably won't realize all of the benefits of that, but that's going to allow us to store water and meter it out into the stormwater treatment area on a more consistent basis. So it'll take a couple of years for us to get all of that operating consistently, but that'll help out in future years as well.
I can tell you the district has been very concerned about 5.6 for, obviously, that's the first one that was open, the first one that we duck hunted on, and it was a premier play. People came from all over the world for a while, and you can look at the numbers. It's dry. It's a very difficult problem. I mean, the district has had a real hard problem keeping water in the 5.6. Even back in the day, the western sail was dry, and so that is a habitat situation from just not enough water, and managers have been working really hard trying to fix that, because you need that online. I mean, it really, a lot of the pollution comes out of the western. 5.6 is the only one not connected to the lake in any way, I believe. So the water they get has to come off the western basin there, and it makes it very difficult. And I really sympathize with trying to get water on that place. Anyone else? Okay, thank you very much. Step into the STAs, you're stepping into the mess, I can tell you. All right, next on the agenda, Recreation Project and Facility Design Updates by Mike Cheek. Mike, good to see you.
Okay, thank you, Newton. Thank you guys. Oh, again, Steve and Dorsey from the Paddling Trail Association. Much appreciated. Unexpected award. I really appreciate you guys working, collaborating with the Florida Sportsmen on establishing those campsites. So thank you guys again. That's seemed kind of like an organic evolution of that trail. You know, no one was forcing it. It's kind of an additional, gold star on the Kissimmee River Restoration Project, kind of recognizing it's complete after over 20 years of construction. So thank you guys for working together on those campsites. And those are available to everyone. You don't have to be a paddler, hunter, it doesn't matter. Those new campsites are available. So I have quite a few slides here just going over current and future public use and recreation on district properties here. The first one here is Indian River Lagoon South, the C23-24 reservoirs and STA complex. We've had some interest in this, just people curious about what is up and coming. On the upper left there is the North Reservoir. It's about 2,000 acres. Eventually, it'll be a 16.5-foot depth maximum. This is in the future. This is down the road. Construction will start this September, but it's a 6-year build-out. So again, this is far in the future. But the star there, the yellow star there at the bottom, will be the public access point coming off of Highway 70 there that goes between Fort Pierce and Okeechobee. Again, this is in St. Lucie County. But the public use and rec features will be accessed there from the south. And then moving off to the right there is the STA complex. So this is 2,000 acres of STA that will be ending construction in 2025. And again, the public use rec is that yellow star there off of Sneed Road. And the bottom left is the South Reservoir, and that is 3,500 acres that will be built out in about 6 years from this time. And again, the parking area, each site will have a parking area, information kiosks, concrete restroom, boat ramp into the reservoirs. And then activities will be motorized and non-motorized boating. The motorized, maybe low horsepower perhaps, in the reservoirs, and then just non-motorized in the STAs. You'll have fishing, hiking, biking, wildlife viewing, and then limited entry waterfowl and alligator hunts down the road in the future. And this is just a reminder of what some of these rec facilities look like. This is a informational kiosk on the left there with interpretive signage, maps, and things. And that's one of the new concrete vault bathrooms that we're installing currently on some of our STAs. Really nice bathrooms that are similar to ones used by the National Park Service. The bottom left there, that's a cell, STA cell with a bump out of shell rock to make available that space for a large shelter, picnic benches. And part of that Indian River Lagoon South project is the C-25 reservoir. This is south of the Turnpike as it shoots west from Fort Pierce. And just zooming in there, it's about a 1,600 acre total complex there with the reservoir on the left-hand side, a shallower reservoir, about 6.5 feet deep, and then 2 STA cells on the right. The yellow star would be the public use access point coming from the south on Wheeler Road. And there'd be, again, similar parking area, kiosk, the same features that we see at the reservoirs. And then there'll be another parking complex in the southeast side of that reservoir. There'll be a parking area at the base of the levee, and then another small trailer and vehicle parking at the top of the levee with a boat ramp going into the reservoir. And this is a good news story here. The C-44 stormwater treatment area was just officially recognized by the governing board as a stormwater treatment area, which essentially means now we can allow public use and recreation in the very near future. So passive nature-based recreation, hiking, biking, wildlife viewing, bird watching. And then a little further down the road, we'll have limited entry waterfowl and alligator hunts. The governing board had a tour out there to look at the property, learning more about the details of what the system's doing during the May governing board designation. We already had an inaugural Audubon tour with Martin County. This is an Audubon-led as well as district-led tour of the property's levees, essentially also scouting out for the future, this birding season when the birding's more popular with those groups. We had a great turnout, almost 30 people out there, a lot of wildlife seen for this time of year. And at the bottom there, if you want to learn more about the C-44 reservoir, there's the link at the bottom. Jumping south here to southern Miami-Dade County, this is just a technicality that we resolved at Southern Glades. If you notice the entrance, one of the most commonly used entrances is there off of Ingram Highway, highlighted in yellow. This is from the WMA map. And there's a strip of land here that was formerly just designated vacant land, so technically you couldn't walk through that area before sunrise with a firearm legally to access the WMA to hunt. So there's a bit of a difficult situation for FWC, and law enforcement could technically ticket you for walking on that entrance. So just to resolve that discrepancy, we have a 5-acre strip that is put on that entrance road that is now part of the WMA. It's still a non-hunting zone, but allows you to legally access the property with firearms before and after legal shooting hours. This is a large-scale project, Western Everglades Restoration Project, or WERP. There's been a lot of public meetings on this over the years. This is still in the planning phases. But there are 3 recreational sites included in this large-scale restoration. It's going all the way from southern Hendry County down to Miami-Dade County. And you can see Site A at the north there. That's called the North Feeder STA, about a 2,000-acre STA. Site B is an existing rec site. There's a large parking lot off of the I-75 inside a Big Cypress National Preserve. Not heavily used, but a lot of parking spaces. And we were going to put a bathroom in there, but it wasn't really economically feasible given the current level of use out there. It's just not there. But then Site C will be a welcome improvement down by the S343A structure. This is off the Tamiami Trail. Just zooming in, Site A, the North Feeder STA, again, 2,000 acres, just to the southwest of STA 5-6. And similar features that you would encounter at STA 1 West, information kiosk, bathroom, bike rack. Site B, I just left this in here. There's no improvements being made, but again, just to point out that as the result of restoration, that L28 interceptor canal will be backfilled to natural grade. So there will no longer be outboard access, outboard boat motor access. Just airboats and swamp buggies will be able to get in there at that location. And then this one this is Site C, down off Tamiami Trail at the southern end of the L28 South Canal. Zooming in on just a conceptual idea of what this will be like. This is right on the Tamiami Trail. The L28 canal will be backfilled to natural grade there on the north part of the image. And there will be a small canoe kayak launch into Big Cypress National Preserve. And then the parking area will serve also as the plug to the southern terminus of that L28 canal. And there'll be a new boat ramp into the Water Conservation Area 3A off to the northeast. So it's a welcome improvement. And then one of the largest expenses of this actually is the turning lanes coming from both directions on the Tamiami. As you know, it's very narrow, so it's a dangerous road as it is. So those are necessary to make this accessible. And this will be a welcome improvement from that boat ramp that's just down about 4 miles to the east that's pretty dilapidated and in need of repair. Jumping to the east here in Miami-Dade County, Biscayne Bay Coastal Wetlands, we just put in an informational kiosk and 2 day-use picnic areas. This is right on the C-102 canal where it empties into the Biscayne Bay. It's just a shot of the pad. Need to put a picnic table on there still. Information kiosks, we're working on interpretive materials to put in that signage, what the Biscayne Bay restoration is about, wildlife species seen there. And it's also part of Miami-Dade's Biscayne Trail. It's quite a popular greenway trail for bikers, long-distance bikers trying to get out of Miami on long-distance gravel rides. Use this area quite a bit. I've only been down there a few times, and every time I'm down there I see quite a few bikers. It's currently under construction, so this site won't be open until about November of this year. They expect to finish the pump station there. But again, you've got snook, tarpon, mangrove snapper right in that C-102 canal, and a lot of people are biking down and fishing just right off bike access. I was just pointing out one of the new kiosks we put in at Alapata Flats in Martin County, down at Gate 9 off of Fox Brown Road. And we work closely with Martin County. They have a public outreach group that promotes tourism and nature-based recreation in Martin County. And so Emily Dark likes to use this particular site there's about a 2-hour hiking trail that goes in here. So she likes to use that for their events. So we're trying to kind of enhance that area for environmental interpretation for Martin County. She does nature walks, birding events, night sky watches, and things like that. So we'll have some new interpretive signs there shortly. This, just pointing out, on the Kissimmee River, we have removed the Yates Marsh South campsite from the special use license system. It was a little used campsite at the end of Lofton Road there. This is right near the S65D lock. Just highlight it in yellow here. It was right near the parking lot, and people were often confused with the Yates Marsh South drive-in site, which is much more popular, more remote, picturesque type campsite. So just letting you know that's been removed as it wasn't heavily used. This is a new proposal at Dupuy Wildlife Management Area to expand archery hunting in the northeast corner of the property. by about 282 acres there between Gate 1 and 2. It's currently a no hunting zone. This is the area highlighted in blue, what the area would look like essentially. And again, this would be archery only. New proposal for a campsite. This is up in Osceola Polk County on Lake Kissimmee. There's currently a large pavilion there. The Kissimmee River Valley Sportsman's Association, I believe, built that. Popular site. It's a day use area now, but there's been a request for to allow overnight camping. So it's just a matter of placing signage out there and making sure FWC is aware that you can in fact camp there. This is another good news item here for those of you who are familiar with the Kissimmee River navigation signage that we were putting out there. I presented this probably over a year ago now, but the riprap was installed on some of the bends in the river as part of the restoration project to prevent erosion. But that riprap does go underwater at high water and can be dangerous for any boaters out there navigating. So the signage contractors began about 4 or 5 weeks ago. So they're making great progress. There's a shot of one on the left there being driven into the riverbed, and one of the new signs there at the northern extent on the right. And thankfully, it's just in time before the wet season, so before that riprap goes underwater, these signs should be finished. So they've completed all these red diamonds all the way down to, currently they're working on the S69 weir. As of last week, they finished the last bit of signage just upstream of the weir. And so over the next week or two, they'll be putting signage in surrounding the weir. And even pedestrian signage coming, anyone from land-based, to keep people off the weir from walking on it. And this, just a little side note for anyone that uses the river, we did a small expansion of the no hunting zone near Florida Atlantic University's Riverwoods Field Lab. We had some folks, as you know, because of the restoration, the wetland habitat there is improved dramatically, and it's a great waterfowling property. So we've seen a lot of waterfowl traffic out there. But unfortunately, folks were seen setting up just across from FAU's field lab, and we were getting some stray bird shot in the windows there at the facility. So just be aware of that new arc there with a greater radius away from the lab. So people maybe not so familiar with the river didn't realize there was buildings there shooting straight south to Highway 98. I know it's no one in this room, obviously. James already mentioned this. STA 56 Deer Fence Canal Road will be opening next week. So the northern Blumberg Road entrance will no longer be used. So come in from the west side at Deer Fence Canal in the green there. This is from the WMA map. And I'd like to highlight a big effort the district's going through right now for capital improvement, just improving our recreation features out there that have become dilapidated over the years, not had sufficient upkeep, or putting in a big effort to repair and replace these composting bathrooms with these new concrete vault bathrooms from CXT. They come in 2 pieces. Massive crane is brought in to install them. They truck them down from West Virginia. So if you've never been excited about bathrooms, you're about to be. If I can get this video going. You can get it, thanks. But yeah, these concrete bathrooms are substantial. They even use them they recommend them as hurricane shelters down at the campground in Everglades National Park. Get you guys pumped up on bathrooms. So everyone get out there. We did this at STA 1 West, STA 3-4, and then Harold Campbell Boat Ramp. We have these brand-new bathrooms. We still need to make connections to the sidewalks, so they're not available. And by the way, yeah, unfortunately, I got a report already from James, who went out there just a week after the installation. He's like, you're gonna love this one, but we've got like 5 bullet holes in the new bathroom at Harold Campbell Boat Ramp, so. And the reason I'm telling you guys is if you could please, anytime you're out, you guys are out there, eyes and ears on these properties, you're out there on the weekends when we're not there. So please, just call the FWC not emergency hotline for infractions. We'd greatly appreciate it. You know, because we're spending great effort on this new infrastructure, so to see it abused by folks, you know, it's disheartening, and we would really appreciate your help. You know, if you hear gunfire coming from a direction you know it's not supposed to be coming from, just say, hey, you know, there's gunfire coming from the STA in the middle of the night, and you guys are out there much more than us on these weekends when a lot of this stuff happens. So we appreciate your help on that. Let's go. Okay, I lost my slides. Sorry about that. You helping me, Yvette? Okay, sorry about that. Okay, now we're back. Another big part of this infrastructure improvement, we have dilapidating post and rail fencing. We're going to do resurfacing of the parking areas, restriping of parking spaces. This is new post and rail fence out at STA 3-4. And a big thank you to James Harbaugh for finding these high-quality contractors to work in these remote areas. As you know, Florida's building is booming. It's hard to find people to do work, even in civilization, much less an hour and a half away out in these STAs. So great job, James, on finding these folks to get out there, and they're doing a great job so far. And this highlighting some volunteer events that we've had recently this spring. This is one from the Southern Off-Road Bicycle Association, or SORBA, the Lando chapter. This is at Shingle Creek, up near Orlando. They had an event, 9 volunteers, 2 days of work, a total of 84 volunteer hours, for total in-kind services valued at over $2,500. And they repaired some washouts in some of the areas they ride with shell rock, solidifying those areas, and they're replacing these wooden bridges, which they use regularly. And they'll remove that one there on the right after this new one's installed. So a big thanks to SORBA of Orlando for that effort. Back down in Miami-Dade County, Biscayne Bay Coastal Wetlands Restoration Group out of Cutler Bay. They weeded a new planting area, planted native grasses, shrubs, ground cover, and then repositioned some limestone rocks along the hiking trail there. So huge thank you to that group. They had a great turnout. 63 volunteers, 6 hours of work, 378 volunteer hours. Again, to put a dollar amount on it, that's over $11,000 of effort. So greatly appreciate it. Everyone in this room and this group in particular, anyone who's out there helping us, it's much appreciated. This is highlighting our campground hosts' work, going above and beyond what they really need to do necessarily. We have campground hosts at 4 of our properties that are most popular campsites. So we've got 3 on the Kissimmee River. There's one at Kisso. We have one Hickory Hammock Equestrian Center, and then the Istapoga Boat Ramp. And then we have 3 campground hosts at Dupuy, both at the family campground and the Equestrian Center. And these folks, again, we've got some high quality people out there just seeing things that need to be done and just saying, hey, can we get a little wood material purchased? I can build this shower stall, make it look much nicer. And we're seeing the results of this on the ground. These guys are just out there constantly improving the surroundings of these campsites. This is again at Dupuy, cleaning up a wellhead, removing trees, pruning back vegetation that may not have been done for months, maybe years even. So again, thank you very much, those campground hosts. And again, thanks to James Harbaugh for getting these campground hosts on board. He's done a great job of advertising for these positions, interviewing, and then screening folks to make sure they get matched to the right property. Because again, some of these areas are remote. They may not be so happy at Kisso, up far from law enforcement or anything else. And You know, maybe you'd fit better at Istapoga Boat Ramp or Dupuy, where you're closer to civilization. So thanks again, James, for that effort and these volunteers. Big volunteer event we had in May. This is the Florida Sportsman's Conservation Association with the Lake Okeechobee Airboat Association. This has been an ongoing effort for, I don't know how long, Bishop, over at least 7 years maybe, or 5 to 7 years going to the river. They had, again, a big, huge turnout, a removal of fencing, hazardous debris from the floodplain, old fencing that was never removed after restoration. All the work was focused on Chandler Slough. This is south of 98 and then east and one of the largest sloughs that feeds the river. Installed over 60 signs, no airboat signs mostly on the eastern edge of delineating private property, as well as the deeper Chandler Slough with the large cypress. As always, they have come out in full force, lots of equipment, lots of enthusiasm. You see that amount of debris on a trailer there, that's barbed wire, fence posts wrapped up in vegetation. They're installing signposts on the right there. Special thanks to Matt Nelson, Jamie Millette, and Ricky Burnstead for bringing out their own personal heavy equipment to the site, the mini excavators here shown. They even went out ahead of time, ahead of the event, to get a head start on pulling out some large-scale debris that you just couldn't even be able to handle by hand. So this is their own fuel, their own time, sometimes driving 2 hours to get to the river. So much appreciated bringing that equipment out and helping the whole day go much smoother. So huge thank you to those groups. Again, 58 volunteers, over 8 hours of work, 480 volunteer hours. They had 10 swamp buggies, 6 side-by-sides, 2 mini excavators, an array of hand tools with a value there of over $14,000. So again, I can't tell you how much we appreciate this effort. And just you guys showing up here tonight is a demonstration of that, you know, that love for the land. And so thank you so much for your efforts. And that's all I have for now. If there's any questions.
Mike, it's always nice to end up on a highly positive note. And I think you noticed with this presentation how from top to bottom of the district there's an incredible amount of work going on tied strictly to one thing: recreation, public access, and the folks that on these properties. So it's very much appreciated. The only suggestion I have for you, Mike, is that you and James need to swap out next time, so James gets to do the positive part. So, okay, any questions or anything here with Mike? Yeah, Mike.
Great presentation. Mike, can you take it back to warp?
Warp, yes.
Warp it.
I will try.
Okay. Well, maybe you bring it back up. So there's 2 questions on there. One was the boat ramp. Are we and Jen might be able to answer this really well. The remainder of the L28 levee that runs from the proposed boat ramp all the way down to the end of the levee right there by the S12A, is that now going to be available for public access? Or is that going to be degraded? What's the final decision there? And then question number 2 is, I haven't gotten through the final chief's report, but I was under the impression that the water quality portion, the North Feeder STA, was not happening. Something else was going to happen. Help me out, Jen, please.
I need to check on the L28. I need to look back and make sure that I understand, A, where your concern is, and then B, what the plan is there. So I will get back with you on that part. For the North Feeder STA, some of the discussion that you've seen really has to do with the cost share. And so it's a big deal in terms of bureaucracy, but in terms of whether we'll have a facility and whether it'll be open for public recreation, we fully anticipate that there will be a stormwater treatment area. Who builds it, how the cost share works, and all of that is yet to be determined, but we do plan to have a stormwater treatment area and make it available for public use.
that hunting too, or is that just passive?
That's the plan.
Oh, wow, cool, thank you.
Next, yes, Bishop?
Mike, thanks for letting us come out there and spend the day with all y'all. We really did enjoy it, honestly, and it's nice to see all of these volunteer projects. It really is. It's great to let somebody give back to the land they enjoy. And under the vandalism, you know, Mariana Johnny Jones had some vandalism 15 years ago. They burned a check station and everything. We got together as the clubs and we put up a substantial reward. And you'll be amazed when you put money up for a reward that if you did that by yourself, you could probably go to your grave with it. But one day I found that that friend of yours that you thought was a friend may not be a friend forever. You know what I'm saying? And if you do something as a crank, you might not be a friend for a day. So as you know, we would also, these our clubs would be interested in getting involved with you and putting up some kind of reward for something like that, because we find all those structures and all that dear and near to our hearts, and we want to preserve it, and we don't want to see it vandalized. And not only that, maybe we won't find that person, but I guarantee you when people see rewards for stuff like that, they'll think twice about doing it in the future.
Yeah, thanks, Bishop. Yeah, we can certainly consider something like that, or even, yeah, signage saying as such, you know. Yeah.
Thank you, Newton. And until that time, Bishop, rather, we've reached out to FWC law enforcement, and the regional lieutenant is aware and working the case.
Okay, anyone else on this particular subject? Anything on our Zoom, folks?
We have no raised hands on Zoom.
All right, thank you very much, Mike. Always good to have the positive part of the meeting. All right, and I address this also to the Zoom people. This is the last item on the agenda, and what we do is just another roundabout here at the table to see if anyone has any comments about what they might like to see on another agenda item coming down the line. Any questions you might have, or it's kind of open discussion. Off gavel, we have time. But also on Zoom, when we get to the end of this, we will give Zoom an opportunity to also chime in. So with that, I'll just start over to the left, and Diane.
I just wanted to thank you guys for giving us your input on the quota, because without you guys, it helps us make really good decisions and make you guys happy too, so I appreciate that.
Yep.
So I have two things, but I'm going to go back to my old thing that I brought up a couple meetings ago. Airboat tours. Have we gave that any more thought? Have we looked into that any? In all our conservation areas, every boat ramp has an airboat tour there. We really are going to have to address this. And my second thing is, y'all probably know it is Hungryland, but is the Heights over there on the north side. There's a levee over there that FWC gives access to be able to access that no man's land, or whatever you want to call it, bad man's land. I know there's several people that I know that that have that permission, that property in there, and permission to take that levee. And you know, if they own property in there, they're concerned about it. But I notice that there's a lot of people parking over at 9 Gyms again, which is against the rules. And I'm told by friends of mine that are in there, you ask half the people in there, do they own land in there? And the answer is no. So I really think we need to step up some heavy law enforcement and make sure the people that are accessing that levee over there have the permission to access that levee, and maybe we can get rid of some of the bad players that have nothing at stake here. And I'm sure everybody that's parked over at Hungryland or 9 Gyms don't even know the rule. That's the reason why they're parked over there. But I really think with a little bit of law enforcement, maybe we can clean that up a little bit.
Bishop.
Kyle Archecki with the Broward Airboat Club. Drew, we talked down on 41 at that boat ramp opening about possibly a new boat ramp for 2B. with the whole Sawgrass Rec Park situation. I'd like to have that brought up, further. We picked out a spot we think is pretty good. The Airboat Club, we went out there and knocked down a trail from that area to the existing trails, and just like to talk further about getting a new boat ramp put in.
Staff?
I have not. I was hoping to figure out how to do that tonight.
Yeah, definitely. We want to continue that conversation, so I'm glad you've identified an area, but yeah, we hadn't forgotten that request.
Get up with me afterwards, and you can send me what you got, okay?
Okay. Next, okay.
Brad Wyrock. I'd like to circle back as Bishop did with an item. Down here a lot, we use words like filtration, we use words like sheet flow. About 2 years ago, we sat in this room and our friend Mike Cheek had a presentation about the KCOL and our water levels. And I normally start this conversation a little bit with, hey, look, I know the district kind of does as directed with the Army Corps. It's your structures and it's their direction. But I'm not going to do that this time. Back in January, we had a meeting at the FFA Foundation Leadership Training Center on Lake Pierce. And the district was a big part of that meeting. Some folks sitting in this room were there that night on behalf of the district. The Army Corps was there. For many of us that live at Port Hatchinahaw, live on those lakes, for the small businesses right now that have signs up that their boat ramps are closed because the water levels are too low, for the businesses this week that have suffered cancellations because the water levels are too low. As a 7-year past president of Kissimmee River Valley Sportsman, who during those 7 years we put $100,000 into the KCOL, and we're canceling rides. We canceled a family reunion event. We're canceling a fundraising event. And on January 30th, Army Corps of Engineers, Corey Bell was there, much of this staff, said, look, we're going to keep these lakes this year at 53 feet. Manage them. We're not going to let the water out so fast. Well, that was 5 feet ago. 5 feet left in about 7 weeks. So we're back to damaged seawalls. We're back to lower units getting torn off boats when they leave the county park. Of course, their answer is let's close the park. That's just as idiotic as closing some of these other opportunities. If we have Mr. Bartlett's grocery store and Mr. Bartlett sells half of his inventory, he doesn't close the store, he orders more inventory. He manages that store. So I'm asking for some help from staff, I guess, for it sounds like beating a dead horse. Some of us, for how many years we've been coming down here, drive 7 hours round trip. I understand the gentleman on Zoom earlier said, we got a lot of negative comments. Well, hey, look, if you're still listening, I appreciate that. But you know what? There's a lot of us that go to these meetings, take time away from our personal businesses and lives. If you got something to say, show up and say it or get with that agency. But I'm coming out publicly to tell you we've got a water problem again. And I hear the words, well, we get caught by a drought. Well, we get cells that dry up. Hey, look, folks, if you bet on the weather in the state of Florida, you're an idiot. That's the only way it can be said. I've lived in this state for 54 years. You can't bet on tomorrow at 3 o'clock. That's a fact. So I'm asking for some help from staff. Can we appoint somebody as a point person? Because you feel like you're just beating a dead horse. We were promised all this stuff months ago, and we're right back where we are every year. Oh, geez, the rain didn't come when we expected. Hell, if you expect it sometime, last statement. So let's get together on this thing. We have got to find some way to mediate this. We've got little mom and pop businesses that are having a hard time struggling. We got sportsmen families. Next week's 4th of July. We've canceled events. This club's canceled stuff. We can't continue to do this. We can't sit here and talk about restoring the Kissimmee River. We can't talk about filtration and sheet flow. What a beautiful job we've done on this river. You can't tell me that thing, the word hydrology, comes up. You can't tell me that it functions properly when you flush 5 feet of water down something in 7 weeks, flush Lake Okeechobee like that, and everything filters properly. I'm an ologist behind my name. I got the word common senseologist, but common sense says that doesn't work. I appreciate all the things that everybody on this staff, and I know you had a lot of it up, James does, because I talk to him frequently. All these improvements on these lands, guys, is amazing. It's nice to see infrastructure. I know it's not easy on the budget, but seeing these things made. I'd like to have some help on these lakes, and if we can help you guys with some of this problem. We've had vandalism on things that we've built out on those lakes too, and we did exactly what Bishop suggested. Help, you come to these sportsmen's clubs, because you come help us.
I think the water levels is probably core. Agree, and consider perhaps the fact having the Corps sit in on the next recreation meeting and answer some of the questions that people might have. They would be glad to do that. By then, they'll have the new colonel.
It is, it's the lake management and how the Corps does it. That is supposed to change like within the next month or two, right? That drawdown that you've been experiencing year after year after year is supposed to go away for next dry season. So it's a matter of us holding that line and holding that accountable, because that is supposed to go away once they adopt this new increment. We look forward to that, but I hope, let's just make sure that happens.
And to that we get some input on that. Their proposed level that they had in January is not sustained. It will flood basically most of those properties that are on the lake now. I mean, they picked it. So we've got to have some communication.
Point, and I knowing the Corps, they're good folks they are, I'm sure they'd be glad to come in and answer questions. And what we could possibly do is we could put the agenda out with the fact that people could answer questions, and that would be appropriate. And that's something that could be stated. Know about it, yeah. You ever heard of a bureaucrat that knew about anything? Okay. What's next? Okay, Mike.
Am I skipping anybody between us? So just a couple quick things I wanted to bring to everybody's attention. One, first and foremost, in the recreation world, coming up this November, we have a constitutional amendment on the right to fish and hunt in Florida. Extremely important. Had huge bipartisan support in the legislature last year. Passed the House and the Senate 154-1. It'll be on your ballot this November 5th or before then if you vote from mail. And please take some time to research that, but it's probably a very... and number two is there is two bills in Washington, D.C. that are very important to us in South Florida, and that is H.R. 8206 and Senate Bill 4267. They are anti-wilderness bills for proposed wilderness designations in Big Cypress National Preserve. For those of you that follow along, Thursday morning at 10:15, Public Lands and the Natural Resources Committee will convene. Chairman Talbert Cypress will be testifying to the committee on this wilderness bill, and we could really use to ensure that our legislators are pushing these. That's it for me. Thank you.
All right, two important issues. Fred?
Fred Davis with Florida Trail Association. As you probably know, we provide the maintenance and upkeep of about 20 miles of trail in Dupuy, and we'd like to thank Dan Carter and James Harbour and Jim Schutte for all the help they've given us this year. With their help, we were able to install some more benches. One of the things that hikers really appreciate is a place to sit down. Florida, as you know, if you sit down without a bench, you're going to have a wet ass. So we've got a program to put some benches out on the trail. I'd also like to thank Dan for giving us permission to put a campsite in the Cypress Creek project, Cypress Creek property. That's a welcome addition to our campsites on the Ocean to Lake hiking trail. The last thing I want to say is, our trail goes from Lake Okeechobee to Hope Sound, so we work in both Dupuis, we work in Corbett, we work on the lands that the county owns, and we work in Jonathan Dickinson State Park. And I'm afraid to say, as an ex-land manager, I kind of take note as to how well you're doing with exotic control. And I'm afraid that Dupuis and the district is kind of falling behind in their exotic control program. I know it's difficult, I know it's expensive, but if you don't stay on it, it's going to eat you alive. So, again, we really appreciate all the help and support that we get from staff. And if you don't know, the ultra runners love Dupuis and they love our trail. And they have an annual event at Dupuis where you have to run loop 1 on the trail system every hour on the hour, within the hour. And usually about 30 or 40 runners start. And by 24 hours later, there's 1 or 2 left. The race is called Death at Dupuis. So they really love it. So again, thanks a lot for all your help.
Going all around, anyone else? Sure.
Back to that green heart of the Everglades, now that you guys have decided to retain the north section, I just wanted to let you know that there are people that own property within the Fakahatchee and currently use that land to access their land, and it's just something to consider while you're figuring this all out, is that there needs to be some kind of access to Fakahatchee to the properties up that way.
Okay, all right, we're going to go to the Zoom now, and Glad.
Yes, Mr. Cook, we'll hear from John Monty, followed by Danny Brantley. John, please unmute your mic.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Newton, my new business has to do also with the addition of Conservation Area 2B, with it only being open during business hours, and as it relates to waterfowl hunting. On the weekends during waterfowl season, starting at 4 in the morning, if not earlier, boats line up along the highway. So somebody's going to end up getting rear-ended and killed. I've seen as many as 22, 23 boats in line at 6:30 in the morning. That ramp there is a primitive ramp. It's only a single ramp, if that's what you want to call it. If each boat takes an average of 5 minutes, 7 minutes to launch, you're talking well over an hour before some users get to use that ramp. To remedy that problem, it looks like there's enough area in there that if you just scraped it out, you could launch more than 1 boat there, possibly even 2 more boats there. I think something has to be done until a new ramp's in place or something's dealt with that contract.
Thank you, John. I see the pencils are writing, so I'm sure that someone will get back to you on that, or even probably before the next meeting if necessary.
Danny, please unmute your mic.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Yes, Danny Brantley, past president of KRBSA for 14 years. Back a few years ago, we had addressed a thing about Catfish Creek, the canal going between Lake Kissimmee and Lake Pierce. And I was told at that meeting, sitting in there in that room, that Steve Coughlin had planned on putting 3 water control structures in that canal, that creek. I objected to that. It's a federally navigable waterway. The law said you cannot impede traffic in a federally navigable waterway, but I told them that our club would not object to it if airboat jump rounds were put in that around the 3 water control structures. Well, airboat jump rounds was put in around 2 of the 3. The third one wasn't ever done. Then y'all held us up again because you had to meet a water control specs for the phosphorus and nitrous coming out of that marsh, Rolling Meadows Marsh, into Lake Hatching And so the third jump was never put in, and we still have not got access to go from Lake Hatching to Lake Pierce. We would like to readdress this and, get it back on the agenda. I had that verbal agreement. It wasn't in writing or nothing with Steve, and I know Steve's not there any longer. But, some things get figured out a lot quicker. I sat at home and ate a ribeye tonight while some of y'all drove 7 hours to meet a meeting. So I got this figured out a little bit better now in my old age. But I would like to readdress that and get with water management and get this figured out for access to that Rolling Meadows Marsh and Catfish Creek all the way to Lake Pierce. One of the bridges has been taken out, the one that was owned by Bakers. The guy is aware of it and doesn't use his bridge anymore on the K-Rocker Ranch. His mama lives next door to me, and so I have access to them. And this is something that we addressed years ago, and it is a federally navigable waterway. Brad and I have talked twice to the DEP man, and they know this is coming. We just would like to get it, the few things that water management needs to do, that one more jump around, and that way airboats can have access, and canoes and kayaks and everything else from Lake Pierce to Lake Hatching.
Danny, good to hear from you. Anyone have anything to say right now to Danny, or we want to get that on the agenda?
Hey, Danny, this is Dan. Yeah, it's just been a while since I've looked at that project. I know Steve was certainly on it for a while, but we'll all get more up to speed on it and then get back to you, okay?
863-632-0618, Dan, and I'm looking at you. I got you on Zoom.
It's already in my phone.
Okay,
All right,
guys.
thank you, Danny.
Y'all doing a great job. Appreciate it.
Okay. One quick look around. Yes, Bishop.
The owner of Sawgrass Recreational Park, I think under her defense, I've sat down, I've talked to her at length, all right? I think under her defense, we ought to have her here as a speaker or invite her to come here and give her side of the story. And I respect John, and I know John knows a lot what's going on, but I know I was down there this year during duck season, and she has opened it up on the weekends earlier. She's got staff there to allow people in for duck hunting and some things. I mean, I'm not happy with it. I'm a frogger, and I can't frog at night down there, and I really would like to work on another ramp for sure. But also, I think, I think we need to make sure we talk the truth when we talk.
It's a difficult situation here because the public is blocked, and the lady does have the right to keep people from coming on her property in the middle of the night and damaging it. Okay. Around, I don't see anyone eagerly raising their hand. The Zoom is shut down. Drew, do you have anything else you might want to say before we close out?
Yes, I really appreciate everyone coming. There's a lot of good ideas tonight, a lot of good suggestions, and I know I'll get with Rich and Rory and his team and go through my notes, but I appreciate everyone making the trek. Thanks for coming over from the West Coast and engaging in this meeting. So appreciate it. And Newton, of course, I appreciate your constant engagement and your facilitation of this forum. It's very important to us.
Thank you, Drew. Our next meeting is scheduled, and right now, right here in this room, for September the 23rd. Quite frankly, that's probably the last meeting for the year because during the season, fishing, duck hunting, every other kind of season, most of us don't want to be coming to meetings if we can help it. But I appreciate everyone coming tonight. I mean, this is one of the greatest things that I enjoy doing. I attend a lot of meetings. I think everyone knows that. Probably be another one in the morning here. But it is important that the stakeholders understand. The district works hard and spends a ton of money in order to get the public out on the properties. We work with other water management districts, as you all know, who are not quite as cooperative. And it is just a pleasure to work with these staff members. And I know sometimes I can raise a little cane to them, but they are working hard every day to meet some horribly difficult federal regulations. And everybody here has to have that in their mind every day about what we have to do to meet these federal regulations day to day. And then you have a rainstorm like the other day when this building is literally full of people trying to keep people from being flooded all over South Florida. And you have got to see, if you've ever been to here and watched these people work when you have a big emergency rainstorm, it's a miracle what they do. It's a miracle what they do to move the water so that you don't have it in your backyard or in your kitchen. So thank the staff, thank Drew, thank everyone, thank all the agencies. Thank you for coming. And we look forward to seeing you guys in September.